Tick, tick, tick. The sound of the clock echoed in the small room of a boy named Armin. But Armin never cared. For him, time was like sand slipping through his fingers, always available, always renewable. He would wake up late in the afternoon, stretch lazily, scroll endlessly on his phone, and then waste the rest of the day wandering around doing nothing meaningful. His mother would often say, "Armin, time is more precious than gold. Once gone, it never returns." But her words went unheard. Armin believed life was long and tomorrow would always be waiting for him. He was bright, no doubt about it. His teachers often said, if Armin studies seriously, he can top the class. But he laughed it off. While his friends worked hard, he was busy sleeping or playing games. Every opportunity that came his way slipped through his hands like water. One day, while lying on his bed and staring at the ceiling, Armin muttered, "What's the point of rushing? I can always do it tomorrow." He didn't realize that those tomorrows were quietly turning into wasted yesterdays. But life has its own way of teaching lessons. And soon, time itself would show Armin its true value. Armin lived in a small town where dreams were often built with discipline and effort. His childhood friend, Samir, was a complete opposite. Samir woke up at dawn, planned his day, studied hard, and still made time for sports and helping his family. Their paths were like day and night. One afternoon, Samir came to visit Armin. He found him lying on the bed, munching chips and watching videos. "Armin," Samir said, shaking his head, "you've wasted half your day again. Don't you think about your future?" Armin laughed. "Future? It's too far away. Let me enjoy the present." Samir's voice grew serious. "The present is your future. What you do now will shape everything. Don't let time slip away." But Armin shrugged, too lazy to care. That moment marked the start of a growing distance between them. Samir began moving ahead in life, while Armin stayed trapped in his comfort zone. As weeks turned into months, small cracks began to appear in Armin's life. He missed deadlines, failed in exams, and lost opportunities that could have changed his future. But still, he didn't wake up. He believed luck would save him, even without effort. Then came the day that shook him. His father, who worked tirelessly to support the family, fell sick. The doctor's words were sharp: "He needs rest. The stress and long hours are affecting his health." Suddenly, responsibility fell on Armin. For the first time, he was expected to step up, to study harder, to think of supporting his family, to prepare for a better tomorrow. But when he sat with his books, he realized he was far behind. Years of wasted hours stared back at him like a mountain too high to climb. His chest tightened. For the first time, he felt regret. He whispered to himself, "If only I had started earlier, if only I hadn't wasted my time." But regret doesn't turn back the clock. That night, Armin couldn't sleep. He stared at the ticking clock, and for the first time, the sound felt like thunder in his ears. Tick, tick, tick. Every second reminded him of the hours he had thrown away. He realized time wasn't endless, it was a treasure slipping away faster than he could hold. And so began his journey, the transformation of a lazy boy who would soon learn the priceless value of time. The next morning, sunlight streamed into Armin's room, but it didn't feel warm anymore, it felt heavy. His father's pale face kept flashing in his mind. For years, his father had worked day and night to give him comfort, while Armin wasted hours like they were worthless scraps. Now, with his father too weak to continue, Armin suddenly felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on his shoulders. That same day, his teacher called him aside after class. "Armin," she said softly, "your exam results are poor. You are wasting your potential. If you don't act now, your future will be lost." Her words cut deeper than before. For the first time, Armin didn't laugh or ignore them. Instead, he lowered his head in shame. Later that week, Armin saw Samir giving a speech in front of the school assembly. Samir spoke confidently about discipline, hard work, and the importance of valuing every single day. The crowd clapped, the teachers praised him, and he was chosen to represent the school in a regional competition. Armin stood at the back, his fists clenched. He whispered bitterly, "That could have been me." It wasn't jealousy, it was regret. He knew he had the same talent, the same chances. The only difference was that Samir respected time, while Armin wasted it. That day, Armin realized something powerful: time doesn't wait for anyone. It rewards those who use it and punishes those who ignore it. That night, unable to sleep, Armin wandered through the streets of his town. He saw shopkeepers working late, tired but determined. He saw students revising under dim streetlights. He even saw a poor rickshaw driver pushing himself through the night just to earn enough to feed his family. Everywhere he looked, people were valuing their time. And then he thought of himself, lying in bed all day, careless, blind to the world. The contrast hit him hard. He sat on a park bench, staring at the stars. Tears rolled down his cheeks. For the first time in his life, Armin felt pain not because of failure, but because of wasted chances. He whispered into the night air. "God gave me time, and I threw it away. No more. I don't want to live like this anymore." The very next morning, Armin woke before dawn. His body resisted, but his heart pushed him. He splashed cold water on his face and sat at his desk. The books in front of him seemed like strangers, complicated, confusing, overwhelming. But instead of giving up, he whispered, step by step, "I will catch up." At breakfast, his mother noticed the change. "You're awake early, Armin." He smiled faintly. "Yes, Ammi. I've wasted enough time. I want to change." Her eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of hope. She gently placed her hand on his head and said, "May God bless this new journey." The days that followed were not easy. Laziness still tried to pull him back. Sometimes, while studying, he would feel the old habit whispering, "Just rest, just check your phone for a while." But every time, he fought back with the memory of his father's tired face and Samir's shining success. Slowly, Armin began to transform. He created a routine, set small goals, and celebrated little victories. Each hour he spent productively felt like a treasure recovered from the ruins of his past. He realized something extraordinary: time, once wasted, never comes back, but time used wisely creates miracles. That was the wake-up call Armin needed. He was no longer the lazy boy who laughed at warnings. He had begun to see time as life itself. And life was too short to waste. At first, Armin thought change would be simple: wake up early, study, and everything would improve. But reality quickly slapped him in the face. The very next week, while his friends played cricket in the field, Armin sat inside with his books. His heart burned with longing. The sound of laughter outside made his pen stop moving. Laziness whispered again. "Just one game, Armin. You deserve a break." But then he remembered his father lying on the bed, too weak to work, and Samir's confident voice on the stage. He clenched his teeth, shut the window, and forced himself back to the books. It wasn't easy. Each day felt like a war between his desires and his determination. The late-night battles. Many nights, Armin's eyes grew heavy, his head swayed, and sleep tempted him like a warm blanket of escape. But he pushed himself to read one more page, solve one more problem, write one more answer. "Success won't come to me in a dream," he whispered, shaking his head awake. "I must chase it." Sometimes, he failed, falling asleep on his books. But each time, he got back up, determined to fight harder. Sacrifices along the way. The biggest sacrifices were not of sleep or play, but of people. His old friends started mocking him. Armin the bookworm, they laughed. Look at him, acting like a scholar. You'll never change. Each word stabbed his heart, but he didn't respond. Instead, he reminded himself, they laughed when I was lazy. Now they laugh because I'm serious. Let them. One day, they'll see the difference. Even family gatherings became tough. While cousins joked, sang, and scrolled through their phones, Armin excused himself to review his lessons. Some called him boring, some called him obsessed, but deep down, he knew he was trading short-term fun for long-term victory. Moments of doubt. But the road wasn't straight. There were days when Armin's mind broke down. What if I fail anyway? What if all this hard work doesn't matter? Maybe I'm just not smart enough. The doubts crept in like shadows, trying to drag him back into the pit of laziness. One evening, when the pressure grew unbearable, he almost gave up. He closed his books and collapsed on his bed. Tears rolled down his face as he whispered, "I'm tired, maybe this isn't for me." At that very moment, his mother entered the room with a glass of milk. She looked at his tired face and said softly, "Armin, I see your efforts. Your father sees them too. Even if success takes time, remember, you're already winning, because you're fighting your old self." Those words lit a fire in his heart. Armin wiped his tears and said, "No. I won't quit. Not now. Not ever." The turning point. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, his scores improved. From failing marks, he climbed to average. From average, he rose to good. Each result felt like a small piece of victory carved from stone with his own hands. The final exams arrived like a storm. For months, Armin had been preparing, but as he entered the hall on the first day, his heart pounded like a drum. His palms sweated, his throat felt dry, and for a brief second, the old Armin whispered inside him, "You're not ready. You'll fail again." But this time, he silenced that voice. Closing his eyes, he took a deep breath and remembered his mother's words. Even if success takes time, you're already winning because you're fighting your old self. With renewed courage, he picked up his pen and began. The exam marathon. Each paper was a battlefield. The questions were tough, the pressure immense. Students around him groaned, scratched their heads, and some even gave up midway. But Armin kept going. For every difficult question, he remembered the late nights when he solved 10 similar problems. For every essay, he recalled the pages he had filled in practice. He wasn't just writing answers, he was writing the story of his transformation. The long wait. After 2 exhausting weeks, the exams were finally over. Relief washed over him, but now came the hardest part, waiting. Those days felt endless. Armin replayed his answers in his head again and again, wondering if he had done enough. The doubts tried to creep back. What if I fall short? What if all this effort still isn't enough? But unlike before, he didn't drown in fear. Instead, he used the waiting days to continue his routine, reading, practicing, and planning for the future. For the first time in his life, he realized that valuing time wasn't just about exams, it was about life itself. The day of results. Finally, the big day arrived. The entire school buzzed with nervous energy. Students crowded around the notice board, pushing and shouting. Armin stood at the back, frozen with fear. What if my name isn't there, he thought, his legs trembling. Gathering courage, he stepped forward, scanned the list, and then his eyes widened. His name wasn't just there. It was at the very top. Armin Khan, first position. For a moment, the world stood still. His heart raced, his eyes filled with tears. He touched the paper to make sure it wasn't a dream. The boy who once failed, who wasted hours, who was mocked for laziness, was now the topper of his class. The celebration. When he walked back home, children from the neighborhood shouted his name, friends who once laughed at him now clapped him on the back, and teachers smiled with pride. His father, still weak but smiling, looked at him with tears in his eyes. "You've given me the best medicine," his father whispered, holding his hand. His mother hugged him tightly and said, "This is what happens when you respect time, my son." For the first time in years, Armin didn't feel small or ashamed, he felt proud. Not of the marks, but of the journey. The real triumph. The real victory wasn't the result sheet. It wasn't the applause or the first position. The real triumph was hidden inside Armin himself. The boy who once wasted days had now learned the true value of time. He realized that time is the most powerful currency of life. Wealth can be lost and regained, friends may come and go, but the minutes you waste never return. By winning this exam, Armin had unlocked the greatest lesson of all. A person who values time becomes unstoppable. When the celebrations faded and the excitement of his victory settled, Armin sat alone on his rooftop one evening, watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of orange and gold, reminding him of the very first day he decided to change his life. He whispered to himself, "Time, you were always here, but I never respected you." Looking back, he remembered the countless afternoons he had wasted sleeping, the hours lost in meaningless games, the days where he pushed everything to tomorrow. Back then, he thought he had plenty of time. But when failure hit, he realized the truth. Time never stops. It doesn't wait for anyone. Every second wasted is gone forever. His father's illness, his mother's tears, his own humiliation, these moments had forced him to see reality. And now, those same moments had transformed him into someone stronger, sharper, and more determined. Sharing the wisdom. Soon, younger students began coming to Armin for advice. One boy asked him, "What's the secret to your success? Did you study all night? Did you memorize everything?" Armin smiled and shook his head. "No, the secret is simple. I stopped wasting time. That's it. I respected every hour, every minute. Even when I was tired, even when I felt hopeless, I chose to use my time wisely." The realization. Armin's journey wasn't just about exams, it was about life itself. He realized that success in any field, whether in studies, career, health, or even relationships, depended on how one values time. A lazy person waits for the right time. A wise person makes the time right. The final message. Years later, as Armin looked back, he understood one thing clearly. Time is more precious than money. Time is more powerful than luck. Time is the foundation of every dream. He had started as a lazy boy who thought tomorrow would always come. But by learning the value of time, he became a man who could shape his own destiny. And that is the message he wished to give to everyone. Backhand index pointing right. Don't wait. Don't waste. Act now. Because time wasted is life wasted. But time respected is life transformed.